guys, welcome back to AWM FX. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, no matter where you are. So one of my YouTube subscriber did ask me about which type of QML is your favorite. Actually, it's very easy. QML is something like this. Let me explain. High high, higher low, then higher high again, and then higher low, and then higher high. So what happens is that when there is a break of the previous low over here is the QML setup, right? So my favorite, of course, my favorite is definitely this type. So this is the QML. Let me explain it. This is the QML over here. So what happens is that when the price came down to this QML level, of course, that is the best. It makes it should be like this, all right? It makes a supply zone, all right? A supply zone before it breaks. It makes a supply zone, and it's a very obvious one. Of course, that is the most favorite, right? The most favorite. And then what happens is that the price comes back in the form of compression. All right, compression means that it's moving slowly, moving up. All right, if it's making a compression plus fake out, that is even better. That is even better, right? Means that what is a fake out? Fake out, meaning that at this area, okay, the price has a fake out. Let me change the color. Right, that is the best before the price comes back to the top. This is of course my favorite. This is definitely my favorite, and this type of trade I will definitely go for higher lot size. This is when everything is very obvious, very obvious. Of course, that is my favorite. Then of course there is a lot of QML that you are not sure whether is it a QML. Then don't trade. That's it. It's very simple. This is the best type of the setup that I usually go into. Then of course there is another type of setup. All right, I will show it later. I'll show this example right here. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. Exactly the same. This is the best setup. Of course, I'm looking at the daily chart. I need to find some more example, but this is the best setup. So if you look at it, it's a QML. I hope that you guys agree with me. The price is making higher high and then higher low, right? And then another higher high and then higher low before the ultimate higher high. Then the break. Alright, you can see it properly and clearly, and the price comes back in a compression form, isn't it? In a compression form, exactly like what I've drawn just now, in a compression form. Okay, and then at this place, okay, it makes a fake out. There is a fake out at this point. It's a 3 to 2 fake out. So this is what I mentioned, that the best type of setup you can get. Anything better than this, I'm not sure, but this is the kind of setup that you really can get. Hopefully you guys can imagine the line that I've connected all these dots or all these charts for you. Can you see properly? So what happens is that at this area, at this particular area, okay, this QML area, exactly at this area, okay, this camera, let me get this line away so that you can see clearly. Okay, get some of the line out. So at this particular area, let me zoom in for you. The QML, that is a king, my favorite. Doji king some more. Alright, Doji king. Sometimes it may not have these kind of things. It may have the line like that. Sorry, I got a bit nervous suddenly. Sometimes it may have something like this, like this. It retests a few times, okay, before it intend to break out a bit, then only the big drop. Sometimes it will be like this. Sometimes it is a Doji king. Sometimes it's a double maru king. This is what we call as a double maru. Alright, double maru. Sometimes it is like this. Okay, then there is a shadow going down. Alright, you just imagine it's in the center. Alright, then another going up. Sometimes it's like this. Then of course there is this Doji king. This is my favorite. I tell you, this is my favorite, Doji king. So what happens is that this is the best setup. Everything is just exactly like I've drawn. You see, very, very clear. If you guys can't imagine or can't see it, I think that you need to do a lot more of practice. Okay, this is the kind of setup that I really love. I tell you, I don't know how many times I should repeat. I really love this kind of setup. So what happens is that, let me get everything out. All right, so it's very, very simple. You get the Doji king. Your entry point will be from I'll use this one, it's easier for me to draw it. Okay, from the open of this Doji to the highest point. Okay, to the highest point. This is your entry point. That's it, end of the story. Of course, this is the daily chart. Imagine that it's going, I mean, the stop loss is definitely bigger, even if that small, 30 something pips should be okay. So this will be your entry point. That's all. End of the story. It's so simple and straightforward. Alright, simple, straightforward. Price comes back to this area, definitely that is a dive. That is a dive. Plus this is a CPLQ. Compression plus liquidity. Alright, we have a compression movement. We have a compression movement and we have a fake out. So what else can you ask for before the price broke up? Okay, went into the QML level. At this point, remember at this point, I think I already mentioned it before in some of my videos. Not necessary every trade you have your MPL, maximum pain level. In this case, QML and MPL is in the same position. I tell you, this is really fantastic. Fantastic, bombastic. Nothing else I can ask for. This is really the best of the best. Alright, so this is the kind of setup, first type of setup that I like. Then of course, except for QML, I also like this kind of setup. Let me show you. Alright, this setup. I already mentioned it before. Yes. Trend continuous. Alright, trend continuous, which is very, very obvious. Let me get all this thing out first. This type of trend continuous is the best. Why is that? When the price break the how should I say, break the previous low, in this case, there is a double maru king, right? Double maru king. So how do you confirm? You switch it to your line chart, right? You switch it to your line chart, and then you see that there is a sharp edge. You can see SSR, SSR, SSR. I hope you guys agree with me. SSR, SSR, SSR. Switch it back, right, at this area. So some of you might enter here. It is a stop loss. Alright, no problem. And then some of you might enter here. It depends how you look at the chart, right? Because if you do it properly, okay, you adjust it properly, it should be around this area. So it might be a stop loss, no problem. Why I say that it is my favorite, because it will again make the same thing again and again. You have one stop loss, no problem. Alright, comes back to this area. You have the same type of double maru again. Are you, how should I say, are you there to go in again? This time, this is more obvious. This is definitely more obvious. Alright, this is definitely more obvious than the previous one. So what happens is that your entry point. This is your entry point. Alright, very obvious. Again and again, And then what happened? The price came down, all right? And again, I repeat it many times, again and again and again. Can you see? This time, what it has, an even obvious supply zone. Obvious, so obvious. What else can you ask for? You see, you have one stop loss, small stop loss. Maybe you have this. Let's assume, 5 pips, 6 pips. Then what is this? What is all this return? More than that, more than what you want. All right. So there is only 2 type of setup that I really love. Just now the one, the QML, that is very obvious. If the QML align with the MPL, and then the return is a compression, that is the best of the best. Then the second is the trend continuous. When the price break, there is a supply zone or a double maru or the fresh demand, the supply zone or double maru or king or whatever. There is something there, or we call it the decision point. Okay, so these are the 2 type of favorite. My favorite. All right, so hopefully you guys learn a few tips or tricks about this. So see you guys next time. Bye.